Hello, this is Rich.
Hey Rich, it's Vince with Green Joe Coffee. How are you, man?
Man, I'm good. I appreciate you calling me. I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
do.
of course. So this is my first time trying out this podcast thing, so it's a kind of more of an experiment for me.
Sure.
But I just, a lot of times I take these phone calls and I answer them, and they're really useful to a lot of other people, and I figured I should probably start recording them and throwing them online.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I
Yeah.
think that's great.
Sweet. Okay, so cool. Tell me what you're thinking. All right, so you have
So
a
what I
coffee
have is,
company called Mason
go ahead.
Joe. Is that right?
I have what?
You have a coffee company called Mason Joe?
Yeah, Mason Joe Coffee.
Okay.
And I read your bio. The reason you named yours Green Joe. Mine's called Mason Joe because I package my coffee in mason jars.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Awesome. And so you
And
have
so
a vintage coffee trailer as well.
so I started the coffee roasting company about 6 years ago. And kind of 2 years into that, I was doing farmers markets then and realizing that although I was selling coffee by the pound, so many people, when I would give them samples, they were asking me if I had coffee for them to drink.
Right.
And I started thinking, there's a market that is not being tapped.
Sure.
And so, so it was really kind of funny. After I found your site, I realized that the journey was very similar. And I was a 60, 70-hour a week IT director. Life was just, killing me with that job. So I needed something like this. We moved to East Tennessee, which is where we had some property. So we were able to get out of debt and make this whole process much easier.
Yeah.
And a year ago, I found a couple of vintage campers that I got one last winter, or the winter before in 2016, that winter. I finally got the trailer finished and started running in March of last year.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So your question is specifically oriented towards like large festivals. You want to do large festivals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm dealing with is I've been to a lot of farmers markets.
Right.
We will average, that's spread out over maybe a 5-hour period. And so we'll average about 125 to 130 transactions.
Okay.
Which is a good day at a farmer's market.
Yeah.
I know at festival, I've had a couple of people asking me to do some festivals.
Okay.
And I was just invited to a 10-day one that they're expecting 200,000 people.
Okay.
So I know that's going to be a challenge.
Right. Right. How's the weather?
Well, right now it's snowing because we're on the East Coast, but I think this isn't the end of the summer, though. This won't be until July. It'll be July and August.
Okay. Okay, cool. So you have weather.
It'll be hot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple of ways to do it as far as the festival thing. What I've been leaning towards lately is doing cold brew. And so I'm sure you've been to okay, so who I study for how to manage festivals are beer distributors. And
Okay, that makes sense.
yep, because these are the guys they're a little bit ahead of the game as far as beverage dispensing. And so what I do is I look at how they're dispensing their beverages and see if I can apply my model similar to theirs. So if you've been to a large concert, what you'll see is one, they'll limit the menu, right? There's usually only I don't know, 4 beers on tap, something like that.
Yep.
And how I've seen it typically done is there'll be a cashier, and then right behind the cashier is a table, and then right behind the table is another guy, and his sole job is to pour beer. And what he does is he pours the beer and puts it on the table. And then the cashier just turns around, grabs the beer of choice, and hands it to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially what they have is they have this kind of like beverage dispenser line. And logistically, I think that's a very successful model. So the
Yeah,
question
that
is,
makes sense.
how do you get your drinks to be, that assembly line? So what we've been doing is we have clear plastic containers, and we just stick to mocha, vanilla latte, and caramel macchiato, right? And then
Right,
also hot coffee. Hot coffee is very easy to do. But
of course.
what we've been doing is we've been doing cold brew concentrate. And when you dilute cold brew concentrate, you can dilute it either with um, milk or with water. So we've just
Yeah,
been
or your
using,
creamers. Just so you
right.
know, we do cold brew. I've been making cold brew for about 3 years now.
Okay. Okay.
Um, that's our biggest seller, I'd
Is,
say, in the
okay.
summertime.
Do you make it ready to drink, or do you guys make it to
We
concentrate?
so we do sort of between it. I brew it as a concentrate.
Right.
When it's done, I'll usually water it down a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
I do it at a ratio of maybe 1/4
Okay.
of it water and the rest of it. And then that's ready to pour in, and we pour that directly over ice.
Yep.
And then we add our flavored creamers.
Okay.
And we can have a cold brew out in 15 seconds.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. Yep. So, I mean, that sounds real similar to how I do mine.
Okay. Yeah.
When I rehydrate the cold
Mm-hmm.
brew, I'll do it. So what I'll do is I'll rehydrate less to make room for it sitting with the ice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
exactly.
way, right?
Is
My beer pouring guy can pour it, and it can sit on ice for a few minutes and still hold good flavor by the time it gets to my cashier.
Yeah, you're right. Because it
Okay.
does dilute it pretty quickly. Yeah.
So that's that. I mean, in my formula, so to speak, I kind of under dilute it so that the ice can hang out with it for a little bit, and the drink is
Yeah.
still good by the time it reaches the customer, and that just
That makes
allows
sense.
me
Yeah.
for it to be able to sit, for a few minutes before it gets sold, so to speak. I don't have to do it at that exact time. That's
Right.
all. That's all that does. It give me a time buffer between when the person pouring it and then the cashier. Because sometimes I'm the guy pouring it and the cashier. So
Yeah.
so sometimes it's nice to
Yeah.
pour a few drinks and let them sit for a few minutes and then ring people up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that what that does is basically logistically that allows me. So I do those 4 drinks plus the cold brew, so 5 altogether: hot coffee, cold brew, caramel macchiato, mochas, and vanilla lattes. All those last 3 are iced, and then that removes the espresso machine.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
That's actually something, when I talked to the event coordinator today, I told him that I probably, because of the potential for long lines, I would probably not offer espresso-based drinks.
Yeah.
And he was okay with that. And in the middle of summer, I don't think that's really going to be a big issue.
It's I've done yeah. Yep, I think you're on a good call. I was a sole coffee provider for a football game that had 30,000 people, and
Uh-huh.
I mean, not even 5% of my drinks were espresso based.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So I think
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
moving forward,
Well,
I've
that's encouraging to
yep.
see to hear, because I've been I'll jump back on your site and kind of watch your progress and read, view some of your blogs, and I've noticed you really do a lot of the very same things we do. We have a little bit bigger trailer,
Cool.
so I have the ability to have 2 stations. I've got my espresso and my hot coffee station directly behind the service window, behind the cashier.
Okay.
And then I have, just to the right of the cashier, I have my cold station. Now, we also do smoothies, which have to be blended. We do Italian sodas. And the main reason I do that is because, and that's actually one of the other questions I was going to ask you at some point was, how have you discovered that working into the evening has been good or bad for you? It's part of why we expanded our menu to, other than coffee drinks.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a lot of. The only time I've done good in the evenings is we here in Albuquerque we have movie sets, and
Mm-hmm.
and they like to shoot at night because they can control the light.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are catering gigs. They're not transaction based. I do one transaction with the producer and that's it, and then
Got it.
the
Yeah.
set just gets any coffee they want. It's open menu.
Yeah.
So those do good, but like I mean I've set up, so where I have set up is I've set up at hospitals
Yeah.
and tried to work the night crew, and I mean I would make $100, $150, and then I would have to
Mm-hmm.
be up at 5 o'clock in the morning the next morning, and that it wasn't quite
Right.
worth it
Not worth it.
as a one-man operation. It didn't quite pay itself off. I mean
Yeah.
maybe if you can kind of get in with like a hospital or something, but I mean
Well,
yeah.
we have them here, and they are doing food trucks. Here's what I've discovered. And
Okay.
You tell me if this fits with you. I don't really fit the normal food truck, vibe, because many of them are doing evening hours. They're obviously doing lunch hours.
Yeah.
They often are doing, breweries around here. And it doesn't make sense that I have a coffee trailer at a brewery where they're serving beer.
Right.
Now, food's one thing, but not coffee. But we've done some just food truck events.
Okay.
Actually, the best one I ever did was from 4 till 9 p.m. And we had like a $700 night.
Oh wow.
And that's good for, a $4 average sale.
Right. Right. And was it food based or was it coffee based?
What, the whole food truck event or me?
Yeah, that particular event.
The event was a little mix of everything. It was
Okay.
mostly food. There were about 6 food trucks, an ice cream truck, and then me
Yeah.
doing
Okay.
coffee.
Oh, gotcha.
I was shocked.
So you had coffee on the menu, but you were doing fairly well for that event.
Yeah.
What do you remember? How
We
many
did
people?
very well for that event.
Do you remember how many people was at that event by chance?
Yeah, probably. I would say probably 1,000 to 2,000, all in all.
Okay. Okay. And it was 4 to 9.
Yeah, it was 4 to 9.
Well, that's good to know. What kind of event was it?
Yeah. It was just a food truck rally. We've got a local, a guy who owns a food truck, ice cream truck called Mimi's.
Okay.
He organized it. He basically gets 6 or 7 food trucks together
Yeah.
and rents the space, and we all pay about $40.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's a great deal.
Yeah, we have some
So,
here called Tasty Tuesdays, which is kind of similar. It's at a park, and they have like some live music, and yeah, there's usually 4 or 5 food trucks and an ice cream truck, and they always have lines. I mean, those trucks always.
Yeah.
We go there as participants, so I keep trying to fight setting up there because I just
Yeah.
like hanging out there with my family rather than working. But
yeah.
yeah, kind of. But anyhow, but those guys make a killing at that event. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been struggling with probably the biggest thing is finding places to set up. I set up at
Okay.
a farmer's market, 3 farmers markets. I take that back. Well, 3 last year. I'm only going to do 2 this year. One does a Wednesday and Saturday,
Right.
and then I do one on a college campus, which is great,
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Yeah.
And that's about 4 hours, and I'll do about $600 business.
Yeah. That's
So
yeah.
those are worth it. I can do 3 days and have a really good week.
Right. Right. Right.
But I'm looking at some of these ideas and some of these festivals that's coming along, and I really want to. That kind of was my dream all along.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But I think I was mostly concerned about because I see how you. First of all, you have a I just saw your blog. I just watched it actually today.
Yeah.
About how you in your trailer you've gone from your 2-group espresso machine down back to your 1.
Yeah,
or
that's
to
right.
The 1.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
And I tell you what, for me, I was on the cheap. I didn't have a lot of money to put into this.
Yeah.
I spent $1,000 on a super automatic that is a home unit. I have worked that thing to death. I mean, I think I pulled like 2,500 shots through it.
That's
and I
cool.
think it's rated for like, 300 a year, something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm working it to death, but it's not going to last forever.
Sure.
So
sure.
But it takes me almost 2 minutes sometimes to get an espresso-based drink out, especially when we get backed up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, is that mainly your steamer? Is that kind of what's?
It's exactly that. I can pull 4 shots in about 35 seconds.
Yeah, but getting that milk to temp is the.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. And they have like these milk steamers that you can buy separately.
I bought one.
And I haven't had much success. I don't know if you have.
No, I don't like it at all. The only time I've ever used it is if I just had a backlog and I just knew I needed to get some espresso foam because it's good for that.
Yeah.
But I can still only do about 1 drink in it.
Right.
The one that I have.
Right. And the 1 drink for me isn't worth the headache of like trying to set the thing up and and then you got to clean it. It's a mess, and if it burns the milk, then you're done. It was just
which it does. Yeah.
Right. So for me, I was like, it was a waste of $60 in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now I have seen, and I haven't tried it, but I've seen these camp stove steamers.
Okay.
And they're made for camping, and
okay.
I'm sure it's not up to code, but basically what it is, it's a little kettle, and on the kettle is a steam wand, and you put it on a propane stove, and it just boils water, just puts out steam.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I actually do use a camp stove in the trailer.
Okay.
Because that's how I can keep up with water. I've got 3 burners.
Right. Okay.
And the fire department, the health department, they're cool with it. They say it's great.
Sure.
Because I'm using the small canisters.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's worth a damn, but I had a guy come in and teach a camping barista class, and
really?
Yeah, it was a cool class, man. All this different camping equipment for barista stuff, and he had pulled that thing out, and it was just literally like a kettle. And it had a steam wand, and you just sat it on the fire, and once it reached boil, it started steaming. There was a little button that you pulled to release the steam, and that was it.
To release the steam.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. So
I have to look into that.
Yeah, I mean, it might be. I don't know if it'll, busy times or peak times, just having that and being able to dip into it or not, or. Yeah, who knows? But anyhow, it's just an idea. Yeah, I mean, the 1 group thing, that's the hard part, is it takes time to get the espresso drink out. And so for me, what I've learned to do is just put the milk on right away and then kind of work everything else around it, get the transaction done. And that way when the steam is done, then I'll then everything else, I just need to pop the drink out. So, I should probably do a video on that so I can kind of just show. But yeah, basically that's what we do is we just stick the milk on right away, get the milk started, go ring the transaction, do all that type of stuff. And by the time the transaction, my syrup, and my espresso shot are done, I can then come back and the milk will be done by then. So we've worked around it. If it's a big gig, I'll just put my 2 group on the truck. If it's a big gig, then But otherwise than that, 30, 40 drinks, we can handle that off the 1 group pretty easily. So, and at this point, I mean, that's kind of where I'm going for my recommendations. I know a lot of people are saying, well, what kind of espresso machine should I get? And,
sure.
I'm like, dude, these little 1 groupers, you can do some damage with it if you're creative, and I mean, and then later on reinvest,
Yeah.
And the nice part about that is, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the fellow that owned the the ice cream truck here in the area.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to get into coffee because he had so many people that would buy ice cream after coffee. So he went ahead and bought. It's kind of a semi-professional, but
Sure.
it's a dual boiler, single group espresso machine.
Nice.
And he said they tried it for about 6 months and they had too many quality control issues. So because his people weren't baristas.
Right.
So he sold it to me. I don't have it yet, but I'm going to put that in, and I think that will help because at least I can steam at the same time I'm pulling shots.
Right.
Because I can't really do that right now, and I'm hoping that will dramatically increase my speed.
Right. Yeah.
I always have at least 2 people in the trailer, sometimes 3, occasionally 4 on busy days.
Okay.
If I know I'm going to be busy, and we're going to be pulling a couple hundred, transactions in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
We usually have 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. I mean, like when we do the movie sets, I'll pull out my 2 group. But what's funny is like I have both now, and I really like having both.
Yeah.
So I remember when I got started, it was like, should I get this or this? You know what I mean? Like that. It was always like, should I have a 1 group or a 2 group? And now that I have both, I love it. It's great because then I can just whatever the situation calls for, I'll just use that tool to solve that issue. You know what I mean? Like
that makes perfect sense. I actually feel the same way about this super automatic that I have because once I pull it out, I plan on using it if I ever do any indoor events.
Right.
I'll pull it in, and I've had a couple of people asking me to do some fairs and festivals that are indoors.
Right.
I kind of turned them down because I didn't want to move everything.
Right. Okay.
But I would do that, if I have the equipment that I didn't have to pull out of the trailer.
Right, because then you could do things. So we've done weddings in the past, and those are good catering gigs. Yeah, and that's great. Yeah, those are it's good money. So
it's great money. And people at a coffee bar at a wedding, people are like, "What?
Right.
I've never heard of that." Well,
right. Yeah, it's cool.
We treated it like we were bartenders. We'd make the drink right in front of them. We do the mixing and all of that. And people loved it.
Little cup, you shaking it and stuff, and
yeah,
that's cool, man. Yeah,
we made a little show out of it. So,
well, all right, Rick. So I'm probably going to Rich. Excuse me. I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this up. Unless do you have any other questions?
I had a little list here. I was going to ask you real quickly. You talked about on your thing how you do. You make your hot chocolate pretty quickly. How do you do your hot chocolate?
I steam milk unless it's a big event. So for the big events,
and then you just pre-make it. Yeah.
Yeah, the big events I do the hot water thing. So it just depends how big. Yeah. The biggest catering I've got for a hot chocolate was 2,000 cups, and what I learned on that one is by the time you're done making your 2,000th, your first cup is cold. So yeah that one. So I have. So are we talking for a large event or a small event?
Well, I do exactly what you said for regular operation in the trailer.
Okay.
I just make it with steamed milk.
Right.
If we know we're going to have a lot of children, and we'll sometimes go ahead and get a 4 or 5 quart stock pot and make it over the stove.
Oh, yep. Okay.
With hot water and or milk.
Yeah.
And that way we've got kind of a batch to work from.
Right. Yeah. We use if it's a big event, if I'm doing like a big catering event, we use the it's a powder. Nestle makes it, and I made the mistake the first time I did it. I made the mistake of buying the individual Swiss Miss, and oh man, that's trying to put 2,000 of those took us forever. So we don't now we get it at like our restaurant supply store. They're these big industrial packages of Nestle, and they taste great. The quality's good. Everyone's always really happy with them. I add they have a package of vanilla latte, and I usually add that to it for every for every 5 hot chocolates. I'll add a vanilla, and it just makes it creamier. Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah.
Yep. So we do a very similar thing. My wife has a recipe. We use the big container of Swiss Miss, you get it from Sam.
Yep. Okay.
We use that, and my wife we'll get a container of hazelnut creamer.
Oh, there you go. Oh, wow. That's a good idea. Yeah.
And I tell you what, people love it.
Oh, that's
Absolutely
good. Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, it's chocolate and hazelnut.
And then we can, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Well, that's good to know. I was just kind of curious about how you might do some of these larger events, because I know you've been doing some. And it's a little scary to think that I could be overwhelmed by it, but I think you feel like you've really got a handle on some of these things. You would have some real help.
Yeah.
I'm interested. The cold brew thing is a huge thing for us.
Okay.
I'm planning on just getting the tap dispenser. What do they call it? I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a CO2 based system that you just it's not a nitro system now, but it's where you can dispense it on tap. You get 5 gallons of cold brew in the container.
Right.
That would actually get us through just about any event.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've looked into them, but I haven't sank my teeth into any. I just use it's a 5-gallon toddy system. It's just literally in one of these like big 5-gallon buckets, and it's the double filter. You add in a couple pounds of coffee and some water, and it comes out in a concentrate. And then I'll use that concentrate for my lattes, my iced lattes, and then I'll also
that's what we do.
Yep. Okay. Cool. And then I'll also use it for my cold brew. And then the next thing that we're investing into is growlers. We're going to put it in growlers and sell it by the growler as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that's cool. Well, we use a 15-gallon brewing system with a big metal.
Those big
strainer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So they also sell the CO2 powered. It's like a tap, basically like a beer tap.
Okay.
And that's the one thing we want to put in. They're not cheap. They're $1,500 to $2,500 for the system,
But I mean, if that's your big seller, Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if that's your big seller, that's the equivalent of buying an espresso machine, right?
You better believe it.
Yep,
Exactly.
Of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, Vince, I really appreciate your time. You've really been helpful. I know I could have asked a lot of these questions through a post or through the email, but just felt like it'd be good to talk to you one-on-one. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. So.
Oh, no, of course, yeah, and this is great. I mean, because it's going to help a lot of people that are out there that have, the same questions. And then what's nice is sometimes you'll get other coffee trucks will get in there, and they'll give me ideas, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that, So, there's a lot of conversation that can get stimulated from these things. So thank you so much for letting me give you a buzz, letting me give you a call, and taking the podcast and stuff. This is my first time doing the podcast, so I'm going to throw it up on the website and just kind of see what kind of response it gets. I mean, hopefully it'll do good,
Cool. Good.
It'll go on to probably YouTube as well, so other people have it as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate what you do. The kind of people like you that take the time out of your days, I know you're busy, to help other people that are trying to do it. I mean, I aspire to be that kind of person too. So that's why I love this food truck community. There's so many people like that. So it's good to see. To be part of.
That's cool, man. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, look, I don't know if I have any plans to be in Albuquerque anytime soon, but if I am, I'll look you up.
Yeah,
for sure.
Stop by. Yeah, stop by. That sounds great, Rich. All right, man. You take care.
All right.
Okay.
I will. Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Bueno.
Bye.
Bye.